I'm here today talking with Rik Willard, and he is the founder of MintCombine, which is a technology incubator for startups, and it's based out of the East Coast, but also worldwide. Is that right? Tell me more about that, Rik.
Yes, we actually have a presence in North and South America, in Africa, and soon in Europe and Asia as well. Maybe Singapore or Shanghai. We're not really sure yet. We're here actually at Inside Bitcoins to negotiate something with BTC China, so that would most likely make it Shanghai. But right now we have portfolio companies in Toronto, New York, Nairobi, Kenya, and in Chile.
So that's quite an impressive reach. So what's going on in each of those spaces with Bitcoin startups? What kinds of companies are you seeing come out of each of those places?
It's really interesting because each has their own regulatory issues. What we're seeing in Canada, because of their more sort of laissez-faire and relaxed regulatory ecosystem, that we're doing a more social commerce. In Chile and in South America in general, what we're doing is we're focusing more on trading aspects and currency valuations and worried about platforms. New York, the same thing, but the U.S. has their own regulatory environment, and we're not, we don't really, mostly building a test platforms out of New York. In Africa, for developing and emerging markets, we're really doing a lot of mobile work. Merging with BitPesa in Nairobi with Duncan Goldie Scott and those people, and figuring out how to reach the unbanked and underbanked in emerging markets.
That is really interesting. I was curious about what was going on in Kenya, especially with the popularity of M-Pesa. So is BitPesa similar to M-Pesa? What's the difference?
BitPesa is actually a remittance system based on the infrastructure of M-Pesa. So Muscovy was the company that Duncan had founded to do microfinance and micropayments in Kenya. So he just really switched that platform over to Bitcoin as a remittance network through M-Pesa.
Okay, and that would work with just mobile phones that aren't necessarily smartphones.
Feature phones. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's really interesting. So what kinds of things do you look for in Bitcoin startups what indicates that one would show promise?
I personally like people with vision. I like good teams. Every VC or every investor is looking for teams and smart people. But mostly, I look for in this space right now, just like the beginning of the internet. This is the wild, wild west. I look for people with far-reaching vision, like Dan or people like that, who see into the application layer. If you look at Bitcoin as the TCP/IP of money, the application layer, the HTML, is what I'm looking for.
And so how did you yourself first find out about Bitcoins? When did you get excited about them?
I bought my first Bitcoin about 2 years ago. And,
so you've been in it for a while.
For a minute, yeah. And I bought lots early on, just to play with, to figure out, is it real or is it not, and just sort of, rode the wave.
Do you remember where you first heard about it?
Yeah, actually, I heard about it first from Peter Vessinis.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I got my first Bitcoin because I had lunch with Peter, and I paid for it. He said, "I don't want you to pay for it. I'll give you, the equivalent in Bitcoin." I got my first blockchain app then. Actually, and so that was a while ago.
Yeah, that's a cool story. So, okay, so are you, that investment that you made in Bitcoin obviously has done well, so...
Yeah, I've invested quite a bit more since, but...
Yeah, I was curious about that. So has your strategy has been invest more and buy and hold?
Well, no, I don't... I'm not like Brock and those guys who this hold. I believe you have to hold 80%, but you've got to spend 20%. You've got to keep it. You got to keep liquidity in the market, or else you have, no value, right? So to me, it's really important to have some stake in Liquid to support that ecosystem and keep things moving smoothly.
Yeah. So when you find a promising kind of Bitcoin startup, are you funding them in Bitcoin, or how does that work?
That's a good question. No, not right now. But yes, we will eventually. But we're looking for a more stable platform. I mean, we're really using cash right now, and also services and in-kind services as well, like any good, mentor should do. But that being said, there will be a time where we will move that platform over to digital. Yes.
Right. So having the global coverage is kind of a sweet arrangement, because if some country decides, like the U.S., if they decide, well, we're going to, crack down or whatever on funding companies with Bitcoin or whatever, then you can say, all right, well, we've got stuff going on in Kenya, China, exactly. It doesn't matter, Canada.
Exactly. We're in the U.S., we're dragging our feet on this, and it's a shame, kind of, because the world will move ahead regardless. And to me, Bitcoin is an underlying protocol that enables a lot of things on the application level. So to me, it's a branding issue. I'm not married to Bitcoin per se. I am, though, wed really strongly to digital currency. I think Litecoin has great promise. I think Namecoin's really exceptional. And some others, who have promise. Most of them are for crap, actually. But the ones that have the protocols in place are the ones that really are that we're betting on. Yeah. So
you're excited about sort of expanding the idea of Bitcoin into other areas and applications.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're big believers that, to each place a coin, and a coin for each place. Corporate coins, government issued coins, private and public sector. And it'll be like, 120 years ago in the U.S. we had 1,400 different currencies. People don't, remember that because we don't have that I guess that social imperative to look back and say what actually happened before all of this. Centralized currency is a fairly new phenomenon, with human beings. Mostly we've had decentralized currency and local currencies. So I think that's where we're going before we talk about a one world currency. There'll be a multiverse of currencies.
That's really interesting, because I don't know if you've noticed, but people are kind of split on this issue. There are some people who think there can only be one, and it's Bitcoin. And then some people think, well, there's room for a lot more.
No, it's nonsense. It's like saying there can only be one cola. There's Coke, which is huge and monolithic. Okay, but there's also Pepsi. And there are the also rans like RC Cola, which you don't hear about anymore, or White Rock Cola. Some will die off. Most will die off. But there will be, some exceptional brands that stick out because of their of the structure and because of the ease of use and different kinds of imperatives.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So one last question. Do you have any altcoins? Are you invested in any altcoins personally? Yep.
I'm not saying which, though.
Okay, fair enough. Cool. Okay, so where can people find more about your firm on the internet, you, whatever you want?
So you can go to on-21.com, or you can go also to MintCombine.com.
Okay, Rik, thanks so much for talking with me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Nice to meet you.
Oh, so great to meet you.
Hi, this is Jason King for Bitcoin 100, and you're listening to Let's Talk Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is not really a talker. It's a doer, just like the best nonprofits and charity organizations. And at Bitcoin100.org, all we do is find hardworking nonprofits and charities and give them $1,000 in Bitcoin. That's all we do. So donate to Bitcoin 100 and let Bitcoin, nonprofits, and charities do what they do best.